Welcome to the Uncensored Self podcast. I am your host, Ryan Gillen, and this is a space where women who value achievement, success, accomplishment, and wealth, but also crave happiness, love, joy, and deep fulfillment come to remember that we get to have both. Not by doing more, but by being more of who we truly are. In this show, we explore identity, energy, alignment, and embodiment because you didn't come here to follow someone else's rules. You came to right your own. Let's dive in. So here we are for the very first live recording of the Uncensored Self podcast. But what makes today extra special is that we are doing this inside of our brand new community called the Uncensored Self, your Backstage Pass. And the reason why it is your Backstage Pass is because instead of this being a one-way conversation, it turns into a two-way conversation. It turns into an actual interaction, which I'm thrilled about. So just for those of you that are watching live, for those of you that are going to catch this on the podcast, bear with me. This is the first time I've done this in a really long time. Wow, you guys make it. Here we go. Beautiful. We should be ready to rock and roll. Like I said, if you're here live, let me know. I'm going to be tracking this from a couple different places so I can make sure that this is a thoughtful conversation. But what we're doing in this particular podcast today is talking about unlearning success. Unlearning success. And what does that mean? So really the whole video series itself, the topic you're going to see on this podcast is unlearning success. And it's really about the idea of busting the myths that keep high achieving women in survival mode. And if you're asking yourself the question, am I in survival mode? We're going to talk about that today. So we're going to talk about two different things, right? One, we're going to talk about specifically what does it mean to unlearn success? What does that look like? And then, am I really in survival mode? And the reason why, at first I thought, well, that's silly. I feel like you would know if you're in survival mode, but maybe you don't. Maybe you have been in survival mode for so gosh darn long that you don't realize that this is survival mode and it's not normal, which is actually why the entire series exists. So why unlearning success, right? Like, why is that the particular conversation we're having today? The world sells us a version of success, a story of success. And that story is that, at least for me, very much your typical American dream conversation, right? Your very typical American dream conversation where you go to college, you get a job, you pick a career, you work your way up the ladder, you put your nose down, nose to the grindstone, head down, let your work speak for itself. We don't beg, we don't ask, we just let our work speak for ourselves, and we just keep working harder and harder and harder. And at some point in time, you will arrive. I don't even know where the hell we're trying to arrive to, but that was the model of success I was taught. That was the model of success that I modeled and had a lot of success with, for lack of a better word. I amassed a lot of external success following that blueprint, right? I had a great job. I then built a big business. I lived in a beautiful home. I was married. I had kids. Like, I had all of the things. I was able to be like, that car, I want it, and buy it back in 2021. I had so many things that the rest of the world would love to have. I had so many things that the rest of the world would just love to be a part of, right? I had so much, but inside I was not happy. I was not fulfilled. I knew that I was barely scratching the surface of my potential. I knew that I was bordering burnout. And I just remember so clearly sitting in my office and thinking, this is when I still had a job, like, this can't be it for me. This cannot be all that God put me on this planet for. Like, this can't be the fucking point of life. Like, this can't be it. And that's really what was the first kind of seed in the ground for me, where it was like, all right, I got to figure this out. And I did. But all I did was replace one thing for another, right? I exited corporate America and then became an entrepreneur. But I approached it with the exact same thing, right? Because when we play what I call the mind game, which is the game of the mind, which is what most of us play, we're thinking all the time and we're figuring things out all the time and we're problem solving all the time and there's just constant noise in our brains. That is what I call the mind game. And when you play the mind game, it makes sense to change the outside things. Okay, cool. You're not happy? Get a different job or start a different business or change brokerages or go in this direction, right? Change the outside world. And, then everything will be fine. That was my first attempt at unlearning success. I was like, okay, cool. I'm not happy in this corporate vibe. So I'm going to go over here and become an entrepreneur because then, at least I have control, right? We have no control. We'll talk about that later. But at least I thought I was in control of what was happening to me at the time. And I wasn't. Neither are you. And so I became an entrepreneur and I'm like, okay, cool. I'm in the driver's seat of my life now. I can control how much money I make and how I work and where I work and all the other things. But that is not what happened. I actually wound up working more hours. I actually wound up doing more shit that I hated. And I actually wound up having more stress than I was experiencing in the corporate world. So while I had achieved the external marker of more money, and I'm using air quotes, right? Nothing had really changed. I still wasn't happy. I still wasn't fulfilled. I still wasn't doing work I loved. I was doing more work that I loved, but I didn't hate my corporate job, right? I just wanted freedom. And the reason why I share this story with you because I think that so many of you could probably resonate. And those of you that are here live, let me know. Like I said, if you have questions, pop them in here. I want to interact and engage with you guys. But I think that this is so normal, and you all know that it's normal. I know that I knew this conversation is normal, right? To question things is normal, but then it's like, but then what? Right? Like, I'm questioning this. This doesn't really feel right, but what the fuck do I do about it? Like, how do I get off the ride? Because everywhere I look in my landscape looks the way my life looks. Everybody I look at is stressed out and overwhelmed. Everybody I look at wishes they were making more money. Everybody I look at wishes that something in their world was different. So I guess this is just normal. And then universal law kicks in, the law of vibration, the law of attraction, which is such a big part of what I teach my clients. That kicks in. And so we see it, we're observing it, we react to it, and then we just continue to perpetuate it. And then our life becomes what most of us are experiencing right now. What I know I was experiencing years ago, where it was like, on paper, it looks great. Inside, it's mediocre at best. But I don't want to tell anybody, because who am I to be ungrateful? Because look at this house, or look at this job, or look at these opportunities. Look at this. Look at this. Who the hell am I to be ungrateful, or to not want this, or to want more, or to want different, right? And so that is really the thing that I want us to pull apart in this 10-day video series that we're kicking off with the podcast here today, as I want to pull apart the idea that because everybody else is doing it, that it's normal. Because everybody else is doing it, that it's the only way. That because everybody else is doing it, that it is the way that makes sense for you. Because what I've learned about the women that wind up in my world, who are attracted to my message, to my energy, to the way I show up in the world, none of us are people that are meant to follow anybody else's blueprint. We're not blueprint people. We are not blueprint people. We wish we could be blueprint people. Life would be so much easier if somebody else's blueprint would just work for us, but we aren't those people. We are the type of people that we are here to create. We want to play by our own rules. We want to do it the way we want to do it. We want so badly to create something that is wildly different, but we just feel trapped. In my mind right now, it's like the visual is like you're trapped in a web of the outside world's definition of success and achievement and what's required to move through this world. Because what you're thinking right now is like, that sounds all well and fucking good, Brian, but I got to pay the mortgage, right? So it sounds amazing to have this idea that I could just do what I want and live in this energy game and, you know, wave my magic wand and make shit happen. But the mortgage is due, payroll is due, these kids' tuition, competitive sports, like we got shit to pay for. Like it would be all well and good to just be in this really crazy, sexy, fun relationship, but I married this guy and this is what I got. Like, I know that's what you're thinking right now. But if you will just listen and feel in your heart over these next 10 days to the idea that even though you can't see the path, that the path is there. Even though you can't see a way to do it differently right now, that it's available to you. Just open your heart and open your mind just a tiny little bit to like, maybe this girl isn't crazy. Maybe there's something to this conversation. Like just if you would just crack the door open, I'm going to blow the motherfucker off over the next 10 days. Like that is my promise to you in this series, is I am going to blow the motherfucking door off of your obsession with external achievement. And I'm going to break it apart moment by moment by moment so that you are literally the truest version of you and you take back all of your personal power inside of you and create a life that you are fucking obsessed with. Because that's the deliverable of this community. It's not more money. It's not the job. It's not the business. It's not that. If you want it to be that, let's go do it. But the truth of the matter is, I want you to have a life that you're fucking obsessed with, that regardless of what you're doing that day, that you get up in the morning and you go, oh my gosh, this is what I get to do today. This is so much fun. How is this my life? Or that you roll over in bed and you look at the person laying next to you and you go, oh my gosh, this is just, I love this relationship so much. Or that you look your beautiful face in the mirror and you think, damn girl, I look good, right? Like that's what I want for you. That's what's available to you when you unlearn this idea that you need the external world to look a certain way for you to experience that. Because that's the biggest fucking myth at all. That it is the external world that is actually controlling that feeling. Because you felt it. I know I can feel it in my body, so I know you can feel it too. You felt what I meant when it was like, oh my gosh, could you imagine waking up every morning in that energy of like, oh my gosh, this is my life? Like you felt it. I know that you feel it. And you're like, yeah, right, but look at what I got going on around me. How would I do that? How do I do that? What would that look like, right? Like that's really where you're probably thinking and feeling right now, right? And so I want to explain to you how to get there. I want to explain to you the lies and the myths one by one that you have been sold, that have told you that this is it, this is it, this is it, and it's not it. And do you know how you know it's not it? Because you feel like shit. Because you feel like shit. And I don't say that to be mean or to be callous or to judge you, but I woke up every morning in my 5-bedroom, 6-bathroom house on a golf course, running a 7-figure business, feeling like shit. There's no other word. anxious, tired, stressed out, whatever, 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 like, pick your poison. But that's what it was. And again, we're just so addicted to this external thing. So that's what we're going to pull apart. We're going to pull apart the myths. We're going to pull apart the stories. But before we do that, there's two things I want to do. One, I want to talk about what is survival mode. What I realized is when you get into this world and you get into personal development, you start to use jargon, whether you mean to or not, right? Like I did it when I was in marketing. I know I do it now. But this whole concept of nervous system regulation, it's something I talk about a lot with my clients. But what I don't think I realize is that it might very well sound like jargon to you. And what I mean by jargon is just like this thing that you're like, that sounds great, but I don't really know what that means, right? Or like, what the fuck am I supposed to do with that? Or what, So when we talk about nervous system regulation, it is quite literally the nervous system that runs your body, right? And you've heard of probably being in like fight or flight, flight, freeze, or fawn, right? But it's basically your nervous system is your energy system, and it's what runs your life, right? Because we are energetic beings, because we have an EEG and an EKG, we are pure energy, right? And that nervous system is what is controlling our energy. And so when you live in fight or flight all the time, which is that chaos and that overwhelm, right? Then that's what you're getting back, because that's the energy you're putting back, and the energy you put out, you get back, right? If you are somebody who lives in freeze or fawn, right? And I don't, where freeze, it's just like, I can do nothing. I'm completely paralyzed. My to-do list is 48 miles long and I can't fucking do anything about it. I cannot force myself to stop scrolling on this phone, get up off this couch and fucking do something. Yeah. Right? You're in survival mode. So I'm going to give you some symptoms of survival mode that you may be experiencing, and you can kind of evaluate on your own. The first one being that the world feels heavy. Again, I thought it was normal for the world to feel heavy. I thought that was just the price I was paying. Of course it was heavy. I had 2 small children. I was running a business. I had team, I had payroll to make. Like, of course it just feels heavy. Right? Like that feels normal. That's a lot of responsibility for one person. And yes, in fact, it is a lot of responsibility for one person, but it doesn't have to feel heavy. It doesn't have to feel heavy at all. In fact, the heavier it feels, the less aligned that it is. The more that you are doing things that you hate. See, your nervous system is talking to you all the time. I always say God is talking to you all the time through your feelings. God, source, the universe, whatever word feels good to you, right? When something feels like shit, it's God, source, the universe telling you you're going the wrong way. You're going the wrong way. Abraham, one of my favorite teachers, you guys will hear me reference Abraham quite a bit throughout this series, talks about the story that her granddaughter used to play, like the hot and cold game. Remember when you were a kid, you would hide things, or your kids would hide something for you, and they'd tell you whether you were hotter or colder, right? When you were really close to something, you were hot. It's like getting warmer, hot. And you knew you were really close to the item that had been hidden, right? And then the more you moved away from it, it was colder and colder and colder. Like that's actually what's happening with your feelings. When you feel like shit, you are cold. You are nowhere close to what you want. When you are warm, hot, excited, so close, like it feels good, passion, all the excitement, all the things, when you feel really good, you're really close to the thing that you want. But the truth of the matter is most of us can't feel our hot and our cold, our good and our bad, our positive and our negative, because of that heaviness. So that heaviness is a sign that you're in survival mode, meaning if something, one ball drops, everything breaks. That's another sign of survival mode. If you feel like survival mode, you feel like you're constantly, juggling the balls or spinning the plates. And if one ball drops, if one plate drops, it will be catastrophic. Like the whole thing will go to hell in a handbasket if this happens, right? That is a sign that your nervous system is shot and you are living in survival mode. That is absolutely positively a sign of that. That is not normal to feel like, oh my gosh, there's so much coming at me right now. And if I fuck up one thing, it's all going to fall apart. It's all going to break. It's so bad. It's, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? Everyone's going to find out I don't know what I'm doing, right? Like you can feel that in my words right now. That is survival mode. That is your nervous system being like, oh gosh, we're constantly anticipating catastrophe. We're constantly anticipating something breaking in some capacity, right? So that is a sign of survival mode. Sharon, I'm just now seeing your comment. She said, we built a brand new, beautiful home on a cul-de-sac on a golf course. Yes. Brand new car, own our own business, great husband, but there's still this struggle. And that is a sign, right, that some definition of success of yours needs to be unlearned. So I think this series is really going to blow your mind. So continue to let me know as things pop up. If you have a question, if you want me to dig in, that's what I'm here for. So what are some other signs? I'm looking over at my notes here. Anger is a sign that you are living in survival mode. This was me. I was angry all the fucking time. I woke up angry. I was angry at my now ex-husband. I was angry. I don't think I was angry at my kids, but I know I showed up angry with my kids. I was angry in traffic. I was angry at the world. I was angry at my clients. I was angry at my team. I was angry. I was angry at, my credit cards. I was just fucking angry when I looked at things. I just was, ugh, like that's the only feeling that I could use to describe. And again, it felt normal to feel that way. It felt normal when somebody cut you off in traffic to call them an asshole and give them the finger, right? It felt normal when somebody couldn't, missed a payment in one of their payment plans to be angry, right? Like those things felt normal. If I had an employee who didn't, dot the I or cross the T the way that I wanted them to, it felt normal to be angry, right? That was the appropriate response. And sometimes anger's not bad across the board. It's the energy behind the anger. Like to me, my anger came from you dumb son of a bitch. Why can't you figure this out, right? What the fuck is wrong with you? Why can't you drive? Why can't you do the job I hired you to do? Why can't you just make the fucking payment on time? I need that money to make payroll, right? Like, yes, that just anger all of the time inside of you is also a sign that you are living in survival mode and your nervous system is not regulated in any way, shape, or form, right? Because while I said anger can be a good thing, but living in anger all of the time, not only is it actually impacting you emotionally and in the results, it's also impacting you physically. There's a lot of research coming out now to show that our emotional state is in fact creating a lot of our health issues, a lot of our chronic health issues. So like chronic stress and chronic anger are actually manifesting in your body in the terms of physical ailments, whether you realize it or not. But that was definitely something for me that was showing up really heavily was anger. And so that's another way if you just find yourself angry all of the time. If you cannot slow down, you are likely in survival mode. If you think it is normal to sit on your couch and watch TV and scroll on your phone at the same time, you're probably in survival mode. If every time you sit down, you think, but this isn't done, I should go do something else, I should be productive, this is not a good use of my time, I should get up, I'm not done yet, there's something that needs to be done and you can't just rest, you are in survival mode. If you do take time away to do something fun, like say for instance, you do block the afternoon off to go hang out with the kids, but the whole time you're guilty or tied to your phone, or you feel like shit, or you're like nervous because like I gotta get back, like I gotta go, you're in survival mode, right? These are just a few of the things that I wrote down. I'm making sure I didn't, dropping plates, angry all the time, can't slow down, feeling heavy. These are signs of survival mode. And the problem with them is, again, we've been taught to believe that they're normal and we see it everywhere, right? We see it in our politics. We see it in our social media. We see it in our money. We see it in when you watch movies or TVs, right? Like they just continue to perpetuate the story that this is just it. This is just how you're supposed to move through life. And that's it. And it feels okay at first. We're like, okay, I can make a few sacrifices. I can do the things to get where I want to go. But what winds up happening is that you never get where you want to go because there's nowhere to go. This is your life. There is nowhere else to go, my friends. This is your life. There is no destination. There is no finish line. Well, there is, but it's when your physical body leaves this earth. That's when it ends. So wherever you think this ride that you're on right now is going to end or be better, it's your life. Today is your life. So sure, it might be better next year, but what about the next 365 days? Are you just going to survive through those? For me, the answer was yeah, I would. Roberta, I numbed myself out of all those feelings. Yeah. So that's something too. And it's actually one of the things, it's one of our days we're going to talk about is our feelings and numbing out our feelings and avoiding our feelings, right? Pushing those things away because we don't have time for that. Again, that was another one of mine. I remember I tell this story so often when I first started working with Stacy, who's my mentor, who really introduced me to the energy game and really changed my life in a lot of beautiful ways. She'd asked me just this really super emotionally charged question. And she was like, Rye, where do you feel that in your body? And I was like, I don't. My head and my body were two different things, right? Like I was so disconnected from myself that I couldn't feel it in my body. I couldn't feel my body screaming at me like something is wrong, right? Like again, exactly like Roberta's talking about, you can't even hear the something is wrong signals that your emotion is giving you because you've disconnected. You're like, that's inconvenient. Let's clip those off and live fully from the neck up. And what's so fucked up about this is when it comes to people like you and I, we're so smart that we can live from the neck up. Like we can figure it out. We can solve the problem. We can muscle through. We can discipline ourselves to the point where everything that we want gets done. Like we can do that. I am not saying that my way is the only way. I'm saying that I believe it's a better way. Because we see it everywhere in the world. You can create through the mind game, through hard work, suffer, sacrifice. Like it is available. I'm not saying that you aren't going to get what you want if you don't do it my way. That's not what I'm saying here. What I'm saying here is it worth it? Because for me, the answer was no. No, it was not worth it. It was not worth it to feel miserable in my body, to feel miserable in my relationship, to feel miserable in even in my relationship with my children, right? Like just to feel so unsettled and disconnected. Like it wasn't worth it. And it's actually the first myth that I want to talk about today. This was literally like as I was hitting go live. Well, when I hit go live the first time and it spun for 2 minutes, that's why I was late. The first thought popped in is, Ryan, the first myth is that more is better. And I was like, okay, cool. We're going to work this into my outline. The first myth that I want to bust for you is the idea that more is better. And whatever that means for you, right? Because there's one of you right now thinking like, Ryan, I promise you it would be better if there was more money in the bank account. And you're not wrong, right? Like, of course, more resources to fuel the life that you want is 100% better, quote unquote, right? But when it comes to playing the energy game versus the mind game, it's not going to make your life better if you're not better. More is not better if you don't get better. I could stop recording right now. Having more money at this version of you isn't going to fix it. Having more clients at this version of you, not going to make it better, right? Losing weight in this version of you as punishment is not going to make it better, right? Pretending that your relationship is healthy when it's not, this version of you is not going to make it better. More is not always better until you can handle more. Because I had a $1.2 million year and the fucking world shattered around me because my nervous system couldn't handle it. I was not emotionally mature enough to have the capacity to handle that type of pressure, to handle that type of stress. My nervous system said, no, 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 no. And because our brain's only job is to keep us safe, I just literally fell apart, melted down in my head. Like you guys, those of you that are watching me live can see my hands. It was like, I just melted down. I was like, I don't know who I am anymore, but I don't want on this ride. Right? Ooh, Brenda, this is a good one. She said, all of this time I've been so proud of my multitasking, but in reality, all I've been doing is barely keeping my head above water. Friend, you are so not alone in that. Like that, I think that's so many of us, right? We're like, ooh, you know that quote of like, you want something done, ask a busy person. So fucked up because it's true because you can get it done, right? But it's not healthy. It's not healthy in any way, shape, or form. So, I mean, what I mean by this whole idea of like my whole world fell apart and I had to put it back together brick by brick. Got to put it back together brick by brick, got to choose what it looked like. And so, yeah, I did choose to exit my marriage. That is a choice that I made, right? And I tell this story very often, and I think I feel comfortable sharing this publicly. I guess I'm going to do it anyway, so we'll find out later how I feel about it. But I remember the first time divorce was put on the table in my relationship. And at the time, I would have left for all of the wrong reasons, right? You're not meeting my needs. You're not doing what I want. You're not being the person I want you to be. This is why you're not good enough. You're not blah, blah, blah. It would have been all about him. And I knew because I'd been doing the energy work for a while. I wasn't fully living it yet, but I've been doing it long enough to know that like, oh, that's probably not right. Right. So I was like, it has to be about me. And so ultimately, when I decided to end my marriage, it was because I did not like who I had become. I did not like how I was showing up. I did not like what I was bringing to the table in that relationship. And I couldn't see a way forward in that relationship where both of us could be the best version of ourselves. That is why I chose to end my marriage. And so that's what I mean about the difference between changing the external. So in that space, I did change the external, right? But I changed the external because it was in service of the highest and best. I didn't change the external because I needed the external to look differently, right? I changed the external because, ooh, in this particular container, I am not the best version of myself. And I don't see a way to be the best version of myself on this path. So I'm going to go on a different path, right? It's the same thing in the business because again, I did change from sales and marketing to energy, right? So you can say, hey, well, Ryan, you changed the external. Well, frankly, I changed the external kicking and fucking screaming, but I changed the external because it was what lit me up. It was where the breadcrumbs were taking me. It was to the point where God was like, I'm not giving you any more clients doing this sales and marketing bullshit because you hate it. You know, so I often say like you learn, the universe will teach you a lesson until you learn it. It's this idea of like, I wouldn't learn the lesson of like, you're not happy. This isn't for you. So God was like, no more clients, no more money, no more. You're done. Go do something else. Like I literally felt like I got a divine assignment. So this wasn't necessarily about, I've never said that before. That felt really good in my body. But I got a divine assignment to go do something else, to lean into the energy game, to walk women on this path, which is so fun and wild because I think at this point, 2 years prior, I'd had a conversation with a girlfriend of mine who is a psychic intuitive who told me that, like, Ryan, this is your job. Like, this is what you are going to do. You are going to walk women down the path that you have been on, which is completely and totally addicted to the outside world and achievement, unable to do any of the things that I'm going to talk to you about. And I also I'm going to wrap up here is there's no judgment in this lesson. I get passionate. And so sometimes you feel like I'm yelling at you. I'm not. It's coming from so much love, but it's because I did every single one of the things that I'm going to tell you not to do. Starting with thinking that more is better. I thought that more was better. Let me just fix this money problem and then I will worry about my marriage. Let me just fix this business shit and then I will focus on my health, right? Like I thought that more was better. More of external things was better. But now I've learned that more love is better than more money. Believe it or not, I never thought I would say that. But quite frankly, I'm in a place right now where my business financially on paper, the top line has not grown too terribly much over the years. But you bet your ass the bottom line has grown. And you bet your ass I'm having more fun than I've had in business since the beginning, like literally since 2019, which is why the Facebook group just makes me giggle because God's like, yeah, girl, remember the last time you had fun? This is what you did. You pushed go live and you talked to people and you shared your heart and you shared your story and you told people what you were going through. And I stopped doing that. Because what would they know? What would they think if they actually knew what I was going through? What would they think of me? And so I share this with you because there's no judgment in what I'm going to teach you over the next 10 days. There is such love and compassion because while this journey is 110% worth it, it's not easy because you have to question everything. You're going to question your marriage or your romantic relationship. It doesn't mean you have to leave it, but you're going to question it. Right? You're going to question your relationship with your friends and maybe your sister or your mom or whoever that person in your life that kind of creates some unhealthiness. Y'all know what I'm talking about right now, right? You're going to question business, like this business, like the business, the way that we thought it, like you're going to question all of it. And so while it is not a labor of hard work, like you've been laboring, it's also not easy to look your life in the face that you have worked so motherfucking hard for and say, I have to let that go. It's not easy work. It's simple, but it's not easy work. But if you go on this journey with me of really unlearning success and you choose to take a step into learning more about me and my work, it will change your life in the most incredible ways. In the most incredible ways, I promise. I promise, promise, promise. Two things. I will, as time goes on, I'm pulling up something on Instagram or a photo that I wanted to read you guys that I screenshotted on Instagram yesterday. But over the course of our time together, I am going to share the way that I work with my clients. So if you're like, hey, I want to know, you can reach out to me via DM, you can book a call, whatever that looks like for you. But we're going to talk about my programs and how we take this deep dive. But the final thing that I wanted to share with you guys about this and what we're really going to focus on, and this is actually a quote from Lewis Howes. I haven't decided how I feel about Lewis Howes yet. Like, it just kind of got on my radar for kind of manifestation content with his new book and stuff. And so, like, I want to love him, but then I see the people he, like, interviews and talks to, and I'm like, I don't know if you're for me. But his quote cards just give me life. So I'm going to read this to you because I screenshotted this yesterday, and I was like, this needs to be part of this conversation. It says, if you spend your time chasing butterflies, they'll fly away. But if you spend your time making a beautiful garden, the butterflies will come to you. When you focus on improving yourself, everything you want will come to you. We attract based on who we are, not what we want. Don't chase, attract. That's what I mean by unlearning success. When you focus on improving yourself, everything you want will come to you. When you focus on unlearning these things and really learning what true personal power is, creative power, source power, divine energy, whatever the fuck you want to call it, I don't care. But when you truly learn that that's what creates, then you invest fully in yourself. And when you invest fully in yourself, your love, your time, your attention, your focus, then the outside world will match it. And I know that that is hard to hear because the rest of the world is like, just work harder, just work more, just a few more hours. Just a little bit, just lean in a little harder. And I'm telling you to lean the fuck out. Go for a walk. Actually look your children in the eye and have a conversation with them. Sit outside on the patio with your partner and talk to them about your day in a way that you probably haven't for years. Lean out. Go back to the basics. Learn to love yourself. That's what we're going to do when we unlearn success. And we're going to break you free from survival mode. I love you. I'm glad that you're here. For those of you that are following along in the live video series, I will be here live tomorrow. I will be posting my live times each day. That is, again, me honoring me. Putting the same time and date on my calendar gives me the heebie-jeebies. Sorry, I love you, but I'm going to wake up tomorrow morning and I'm going to look at my calendar and I'm going to say, you know, I'm going to go live at 9 or whatever time it is, and then I'm going to tell you. For those of you that are listening to the podcast, I love you. I'm glad you're here. I'll have another episode for you next week. If you want to join us in the Facebook group, it's the Uncensored Self Backstage Pass. For those of you that are here live, engaging with me, again, I am reliving my 2018, 2019 glory days of business, and I just love you so much for being here and for giving me this experience and being part of this experience, and I am super excited to go on this journey with you. I'll see y'all tomorrow. Thanks so much for tuning in to the Uncensored Self podcast. If this conversation cracked something open for you, trust that that's the work. And share this episode with a woman in your life who's ready to stop performing and start creating. And if you haven't already, hit subscribe, leave a review. It helps this message reach the women who need it most. Remember, you're the creator. The rules are yours. And your uncensored self, she already knows what to do. Keep leading, keep listening, keep becoming.